I'm here to talk to you about Europe. You may have heard this phrase before in a couple of days. And I'll start with my European story, because stories is what makes us perceive the world even more than facts. And it actually started in 1995. This on the far left is my father. He was a Bulgarian member of parliament, together with members of the European Parliament, negotiating on Bulgaria's association agreement. This was really in the beginning of our relations with the EU. Fast forward 11 years later, 2006, this is me as part of this wonderful program at CIFE in a meeting room in the European Council. We were still not members, but we had these delegations from Bulgaria coming in, so I managed to sneak a photo with Bulgaria written on the badge. This is close to January 1st, 2007. I was in Brussels with my wife, and we were attending a small ceremony on a small square near Grand Place, where there were commissioners, officials from Bulgaria and Romania, to kind of celebrate our accession, symbolically to put both of our countries in the EU puzzle. And this is our cat again in Brussels celebrating with us. You might probably think that the next chapter in my European story, which is Bulgaria assuming the presidency of the Council of the EU in 2018, would be as exciting as that, although I'm a bit skeptical on that. So we'll see how it turns out. And we all have our European stories, and there are basically hundreds of thousands, millions of them. Some are stories of progress, of development, of unity. Some of them are stories of division, stories of decline, stories of loss of identity. Some of them are about Europe as a great place to experience culture and history. Some of them are about Europe as a place that can save your life or can kill you in the process. Some of them are about Europe being close to you every day, because you travel on a borderless motorway doing business. But some might feel very distant. This is a picture of the billboard that I snapped before coming here, and it's about the EU financing an extension of a new metro line in Sofia. And it kind of feels like that the EU is this big financial institution or a loan or a banking institution that is really far away and just simply providing money for a project in Sofia. But is there a grand narrative to Europe? Is there a bigger story than all of these million individual stories? Of course there is, and it's still discussed and brought about by people even today. And this is the story about peace, about being able to overcome one of the worst conflicts in our history as people. And what the EU did was it became a new kind of power, a normative power. And it managed to create interdependence between nation states and actually do things that no single member state can. The next big story was about economic integration and monetary integration. And it gave us the four freedoms. It gave us the single market. Freedom of people, movement, goods, services, capital. And it created a lot of development for our quality of life. The economic integration was followed by attempts at political integration. And in this particular case, some wise men gathered together to create the ultimate expression of political integration and of normative power, a constitution. They kind of failed. And where we are now, 60 years later, obviously back in the same room as 60 years ago, with some things have changed, some haven't. And of course, this year is a year of discussions, deliberations, what would be Europe's next story, the next big plan. But there is one big problem with those deliberations. And the problem is that most of them happen in a bubble, where more wise men and women think about how to tinker with the machine, but outside of the bubble, this notion that nobody questions of interdependence and constantly increasing interdependence is actually put into question. So how can we move forward? How can we resolve this? Well, one might say that innovation might be Europe Next Story, right? Because this is the buzzword of the times. We often hear it in so many contexts, even in the context of the EU. So this might provide a good step forward. And actually, there is a flagship initiative of the European Union called Innovation Union. And it's about a strategy to create an innovation-friendly environment that makes it easier for great ideas to be turned into products and services that will bring our economy growth and jobs. There are three things that you should note here. First, an innovation-friendly environment. Second, makes it easier for great ideas to be turned into products and services. And third, it'll bring our economy growth and jobs. And it really sounds good on paper, but it kind of misses the point. It's good, it's fine, but it misses the point because innovation ultimately is about people. It's about us. It's not about technology. It's not about doing things, new things because they're simply new. It's about people. And that's why innovation should be about, first of all, improving the quality of our interaction, the way we do things together. And unfortunately, in an EU context, innovation is often about highly specialized people in labs doing some highly technological things that will hopefully improve humanity in the years ahead. Innovation is also about improving our ability to shape the world around us, empowering us. This is how we create change together. And this is not the way we create change, with referenda, like Brexit or in Catalonia right now. Because this is, in fact, a process in which the political sphere puts our ability to influence our world and our way of life farther and farther away from us, while at some point in life, they just come to your door, knock, you open up, and they say, look, you're able now to make the most important decision in your life, and for your generation, and for yourself, by answering a single predefined question and a couple of predefined answers. This is what we're doing, and this is not empowering us in any way. Innovation is also about breaking silos and seeking problems in a holistic way, being able to see them in their entirety. What you see on this photo are migrants. And it's easy to say that, you know, looking at it, depending on your story, you'll see a security issue, you might see a human rights issue. But there's so much to the story than that. This is only scratching the surface. This is about human development, social systems, entrepreneurship, childcare, anything you can imagine. It's a holistic thing. In the end, it's ultimately about quality of life. Same with this picture. You can say, yeah, it's about unemployment, it's about growth and jobs. But it's much more than that. It's about the ability of companies to cope in a changing environment. It's about, again, entrepreneurship. It's about overqualified and underqualified people. So these photos tell only half of the story. And they tell a story in which we don't look at problems in holistic ways. And I believe that the most radical threat to the EU is the refusal of European and national leaders and institutions to solve problems in a different way. Because these problems demand being solved in a different way. Okay, so what do? How can we make the new story happen? So how can we create a new innovation union that is really working for us? Well, it's not about a single European act. It's not about, for example, getting a million people from a couple of member states to vote on a single issue. This is not how we should do it. We should do it by encouraging a repeatable, continuous process of engaging people in issues that matter to them and co-creating solutions with them. It's not also about holding debates in all of our member states. It's really good to talk, but we need to get the ball rolling. We need to do something about it. So it's also about a mindset of curiosity. experimentation, trying out new things, not just sitting and discussing. What you see on this slide is the new hall where European leaders meet. And there is kind of a sense of order in it. But there is also color. The colorful parts, though, are part of the decoration. And what you see here is a different kind of setting. And probably the first thing that comes to mind is that color is not really part of the decoration. It's part of the process. This is how people use human-centered design to create solutions for other people. This is how they search for unmet needs, try to devise ways to approach problems, brainstorm for new ideas, select the best ones, test them out, iterate, and try again and again and again until they have reached a good conclusion. This is a human-centered way of solving problems, where color is part of the actual work. It's not simply a decoration. And this is actually working right now. Right now, thousands of companies, social organizations, and some governments around the world are using this to actually solve problems in new ways. And this is not about geopolitics. This is not about playing power games together. This is actually about solving problems that matter. And this is what we need to do. We need to get really better at solving problems together. This is our main task if you want to have a real innovation union. And the EU can help. And this is why we should create the new chapter, the new story of Europe, which is human-centered Europe. Because Europe before was institution-centered, state-centered, and now it's time to get to us, to become human-centered. And this is how I quickly imagined an innovation union Europe and a new human-centered Europe would look like. These are not concentric circles of member states, some of which are in the Eurozone, some are not, and will never be, although we have to. These are not coalitions between governments, power brokers. These are constellations of people, organizations, companies working together to solve difficult, interesting problems. And this is the EU serving, yeah, it looks a bit messy, but that's how it is. It's not perfect order, it's chaos, but we create something from that chaos, creative chaos. And it's the EU serving as a platform for these ideas and scaling them on a continental level. The Americans led the world with ways to empower us as individuals. We all have some of these empowering things in our pockets right now. What I think the Europeans are good at is creating new ways to empower people, communities, and societies. This is what the EU was about actually the whole time. And you should keep doing it, but in a new way suited to the 21st century. And I think Europe should be the best place in the world, not because it's people, it's nature, the wonderful things it can do, but because we work together to make it happen every day. This is how we will make it really better. This is how we will have a truly innovative union that we can call Innovation Union. And this is how we will have a union of the people, by the people, for the people. Thank you.